You've said a couple times that we may never really return to the normal life that we once had before coronavirus. But in particular, you said you're not sure we should be shaking hands anymore at all. I like a fist bump as much as the next guy, but are you really suggesting that maybe handshakes should be a thing of the past in our culture?
You know, in a perfect world, when you're dealing with the potential for this terrible ordeal that we're going through right now, knowing that hands and hands to face do it, that would be something that I think would hopefully be attainable, but I don't think it will be.
All right, today is April 9th, 2020. Current numbers, 1.5 million cases, 94,000 deaths. Total cases in the United States, 460,000. Total deaths in the United States, 16,000. And if you look at this chart right here, it was not a record-breaking day. So April 7th, we had 1,971 deaths, and yesterday, April 8th, 1,940. So we had a bit of a problem with yesterday's video.
I had a bit of a problem because I'm the one who handled.
Well,
you handled it this morning.
Kind of. Like, what was the problem going on yesterday? We finished filming at the earliest we've ever finished filming.
It's like 5:30.
And you didn't have, I think it was earlier than 5. And you didn't have the video online until 3 a.m. So what the heck are you doing?
We wrapped up at 5 because we filmed 4 to 5. And then by the time everything was downloaded and could even get into Premiere was 5:30. And then I made dinner early last night. I worked out from 5:30 to 6, 6 to 7, had dinner. And then from like 7 to 9 or 10, I edited. Finding all the B-rolls, kind of a pain in the butt.
Okay.
And then I said, let me hit export. So I exported the video, and it said, oh, the video is like an hour and 15 minutes. So it took an hour and a half. So for an hour and a half, 2 hours, I just like let the video export. And then when I came in later to just hit upload to YouTube, Premiere was frozen with 10 minutes left.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So then I said, let me run down to your computer and open the whole project and export it on this computer. And yours seems to be faster than mine, so it was going to take like an hour and 15 minutes. It was almost like real time.
Yeah.
So I hit go on that, and then I went back upstairs to make the featured image, which I was pretty proud of.
That was the best featured image we've had.
And then I came down here when it was done, uploaded it, added the feature image, and then went to bed. And that might have been like 12:30, 1 o'clock when all that was said and done. And then I woke up this morning thinking like, let me check to see how many views this video has.
And it had 90 views.
90 views. And you said, man, that's like the worst video in Fstoppers history. And I was like, yeah, clearly something happened to the video.
Yeah. So the YouTube channel London Real.
Yeah.
This guy who dresses like a gangster and interviews people. He interviewed this crazy conspiracy guy who believes that the moon is hollow and the world is overtaken by lizard people or something. And
if you look him up, he's a football player who now believes that the lizards will take over the world.
So anyway, we commented on his video. We showed 30 seconds of this crazy guy talking.
All I had was that Elon Musk has been approved for all of these ground-to-air satellite connections, and that they will put pixie dust in us that will allow him to control humans. Mm-hmm. Basically that in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, and the London Real guy has been getting the biggest head imaginable. He's been making these videos every day where he's like, guys, I don't know what to believe anymore. The government's shutting me down any way they can, but I'm here for you, the people. You know, he's just ridiculous. And he went on, who's the crazy guy in the U.S.? Alex Jones. He went on Alex Jones' show today, and he said, Alex, the world government is trying to shut the truth down, and I told my followers, copy this video and share it around the internet, but Alex, they're shutting it down everywhere, all over the internet, everyone's channels. So I thought it was pretty interesting that they decided to copyright strike us for putting 30 seconds of their video in ours which is obviously fair use.
Yeah.
You are allowed to
give commentary.
Yeah, exactly. And so we could have fought them on it, but I didn't know if that would take hours, days, weeks, months. So I just decided I'm going to re-upload it.
To be fair, these algorithms could also just be flagging and pulling the content without them, because somebody said it was pulled in 90 seconds. It had 90 views, but it might have only been up for a few minutes. So maybe YouTube's algorithm just like I think what it found was I had muted the audio and just put some B-roll over you talking about him. So it wasn't even, it feels like it'd be kind of hard to match up, because it would have been video from their file, but then audio from ours, you know? So it wasn't like a straight up copy. Now there was a little 30-second at the end, but I don't even think it got that far. It just like found it in the middle.
Well, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, maybe that is proof. YouTube did ban this video.
How did you watch it yesterday for 2 hours? How did you find
I found an upload on Vimeo that I downloaded onto my computer so that I could watch it at 2 times speed. So potentially we are unfairly blaming London Real for this copyright strike. YouTube has pulled this video off of YouTube because they said it's perpetuating dumb people's belief in 5G, as the cause of coronavirus and stuff. People are going around and like chopping down cell phone towers and lighting them on fire because they are idiotic people, and videos like this are just too much for dumb people. So maybe there's a chance that YouTube pulled the video and just said that it was London Real and it's not. I don't know.
Because a lot of times what they'll do, because I saw we had some kind of, I don't want to say a copyright strike, but you put another video at the very end of the new upload.
Yeah.
And it had Inya, or it had somebody in the it recognized the audio, because most of these don't have audio soundtracks to them. And so I saw something where like all the proceeds are going to go to that channel for this one little clip. So like it's a tricky world with YouTube, but it was strange when it just appeared that they caught this, and you were not speaking highly of them.
No.
So I could see where they would want to pull that down, but it is kind of funny that the conspiracy guys are saying it's being censored, and yet
they seem to be the ones doing the censoring.
I don't know. So a little frustrating. I didn't get much sleep.
Well, now that I know yesterday's video won't even be monetized, I mean, if that video gets 10,000 views and we get $1 per CPM, I mean, that's $10 that has been stolen from us by Inya.
Yeah. I like Inya, though. I like that song, so I'm happy they're still able to get some money.
Okay.
That's good. But, yeah, so I'm glad you got up early and re-exported it, got it online.
Fixed all of your problems. Yes.
Yeah, because many people were saying my morning run was just not the same without Patrick and Lee in my ears.
It is funny how many people are regulars. We get so many comments of people who are like, I have not missed a single daily episode. So thank you for sticking around.
Our Twitter was, sometimes I don't think anyone's watching any of these videos, because Twitter no one on our website, fstoppers.com, or Twitter even acts like they see these videos. But the second that got pulled down, I woke up to like 30 messages, and there was all these people like tagging London Real and like exchanging conversations with them. And so, I don't know.
It's crazy. Well, have you watched any news today?
I had it on just briefly. I know that unemployment numbers came out today. New unemployment numbers. They come out every week.
I think they're releasing every week.
And it looks like they added 6 million more.
6.6 million Americans applied for unemployment benefits last week. 6.6 million, which makes about 16.5 million over just the last 3 weeks. I guess when you have a number that big, it's got to be everywhere in the economy.
It is. It is. Even in healthcare. You know why? Because anything that's, non-life-threatening is being put on hold here. So dentist offices have closed. All kinds of other doctors' offices have closed because everything is on pause. This is a collapse, really, in the American job market. You've never seen this many jobs gone so quickly.
Okay.
So this is the largest number that they've ever flat out come out with without the revision.
And the stock market went up because it's all priced in, bro.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of any of the stock market. They've turned into a bear. I think things are going to have to get way worse.
Wait. Were you not a bear? You thought we had reached the bottom?
No. Like, I've been a bear since that day the NBA shut down. That's when it became real to me, probably like many Americans. and when Trump said no more European flights are coming in. That night was when I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be bad. And then we quickly dropped 30% in the course of like a week. And now we have gone back up like 10%, 15%? Are we only down like 18% total at this very moment from the highs?
I think less. We might be down 16% or something.
So when you think about it logically, you're like, there's no way everyone just took a 16, 15% hit from their all-time highs. Many people were saying the all-time highs were not real. Like that was an inflated bubble. Because,
anyway, yeah,
right,
like if everything was great.
Interest rates and everything were so low and the Fed was already doing all this easing, there's no way that that's like what a realistic economy should have looked like. But now you're telling me people aren't back to work, and the people that are going back to work in Asia are not able to sell anyone anything because Amazon's not delivering packages and nobody has income. It feels like exactly what Pi was saying 2 days ago. It's like this is a cycle that, as soon as somebody recovers, the other half of the equation is in dire, quarantine. I just don't see how I don't see how the market can be going up. And so I feel like it's going to crash even more, but I've been burned on these negative ETFs, these inverse ETFs, to where I'm like, my game plan now is if I feel like I want to get more out of the market, I'm like 50% in the market, I should just sell positions I have now. That should be my short move. Or just sit and wait. And I have 50% of my money in the market. If we V-curve back up, that's going to be crazy, but I will make some earnings.
Yeah.
If we completely collapse, I had some money in cash.
I mean, if you pulled all of your money out of the stock market right now, and you only lost the last year and a half of gains,
yeah,
that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
You're still killing it.
Well, I've been reading a little bit on Reddit and my investing group that I keep talking about, and I just get all of these little tweets and little statements from people that most of these guys respect, right? And they're just saying things that like the Fed is the one playing all the games. Like there is no economic news coming out. There's nothing positive coming out. Apple's not going to be like, you know what? We were 5% better than the horrible situation we thought we were. Like everything is going to be doom and gloom. And the number, I guess what they were arguing was the size of relief money that the Fed is issuing, $2 trillion, maybe another $2 trillion. It's such a large amount of money that when you look at investment firms that have $100 billion that you would think are the whales that are going to be like moving the market. You look at Warren Buffett. The amount of money that they're moving around is nothing compared to trillions of dollars. And that's just the money our government's doing. I don't know what other governments are doing, but I assume there's bailouts going on around the world. So the idea is that as long as the Fed is going to keep printing trillions of dollars, you would be foolish to bet against that because they can uphold it until they can't. And then what do you have? You have the most horrifying situation possible. The dollar and other currencies around the world start to fail because now they're not backed by anything and there's this hyperinflation. It just feels like we're battling the Fed who's going to keep injecting money and keeping the market floating in an unrealistic way. Or it's going to get to the point where they say, you know what, we can't do this anymore. We can't quantitative ease anymore. And what happened 2 years ago when they said that? They tried to bump the interest rates up just a little bit. We had that huge decline all the way up to Christmas where we felt like the market was collapsing 2 years ago. So the second they change their policy, the market's going to have to come crashing down, or they're going to keep it growing in this unrealistic way until everyone else calls our bluff and says, you know what, like this debt is just too much.
It doesn't seem possible that it can keep going up in this climate. And then, I've said many times, if we come up with a vaccine tomorrow, too many businesses were already on the brink. They were leveraged too much. They had too much debt.
Yeah.
They're going to realize, hey, we can do this job without having an office, or we could do this job with half the amount of employees because we've already let half of them go. Or people aren't going to be as willing to spend money and buy stupid stuff like we have been for the last 12 years. So that is going to hit the economy eventually. Now, I thought it would be hitting right now.
Yeah.
So I've been doing all these stupid bets, inverse bets on the stock market that have just been plummeting in value. I've been buying these puts that have been expiring worthless, and I keep buying more, a month or two further out because I'm like, this cannot keep going, but I keep losing tons of money, and then if I'm wrong, and I refused to be in the stock market for the last 3 years, expecting a crash, and I never got back in, and then I bet against the market, and I lost more money, then I've done the absolute worst thing that you could possibly do. And what I said I would never do, that's what I've done.
Yeah, and I mean, if you just remember Michael Burry that I mentioned yesterday, he's the guy in The Big Short. I probably should just sit down and watch The Big Short because I think...
You've not seen it?
No, I've seen it. I just don't remember it well enough.
Yeah, I should watch it again.
And I don't want to... It's a big spoiler alert, I guess. But like through half the movie, he is sweating it because he's shorting the market. And they're just like, dude, you got to close these positions. Like what are you doing? Like he's so in debt now until finally his prediction came true. And the banks were like, oh my gosh, it is collapsing. And then he's just raking in the money, because he was the only one willing to go that distance. So if you remember that movie, he had a very rough patch for weeks, for months, and it's been years since I've watched that movie. But maybe that's what's happening with your inverse ETFs, and your shorts and your puts and stuff. Like if you could hold on to them long enough, if you had enough conviction, it would be the greatest payout ever. But psychologically, who has the willpower to do that? And it's an indefinite amount of money you can lose, on many of them.
With the short positions, yes. With some of the other things I'm doing, no. But it's still, I put in tons of money into the 3 times negative.
The SPXS or U?
Yeah, SPXS, I believe. So it is the inverse of the S&P 500 multiplied times 3. And so I just thought, this is a sure bet. I can't lose. So I'm down a disturbing amount of money.
Has anybody gotten the $1,200 yet? Like the easiest money that they were just going to give you back through the IRS?
I haven't heard of anyone getting that.
I don't know anyone
yet.
getting that. And then I'm just hearing more and more frustration with the banks and the SBA loans. I don't know anyone that's gotten money from that yet either. And I'm thinking we're at the point now where that money is already spent. It's been spent for the last 3 weeks. Like you got to pay your employees. It's now the middle of April, basically. They're going to have to roll out a whole bunch more stimulus. And the market will go back up, I guess. The argument is that as soon, if they just keep doing quantitative easing, that's great for the market. That's just giving people money until they can't do it anymore. But as we showed in yesterday's video, there's a lot of people saying that we need to be locked down for 18 months. The conservative people are probably saying for the next 3 to 5 months, There's not going to be a vaccine for a year and a half. And then I heard Cuomo talking today on the news, the little bit that I saw, and he's saying the Spanish flu came in 3 waves. Like we're in the middle of the first wave. We don't know if there's going to be a second or third wave, but if there is, I just don't see how this is not going to be the most destructive force in the history of the world. At least with the economics the way that it is, like we're at the highest level of productivity in a worldwide consumerism market. This has to be the worst thing possible.
But we're just down 15%. We're where we were last year in the stock market. Makes total sense.
I mean, I feel pretty good where I'm at now. I've lost a lot of money, but I feel good having 50% in the market and then 50% in cash. But the fear is cash isn't a safe bet either. What happens when cash just deflates and, it's not as powerful anymore? I mean, that'd be really scary if the dollar was not the U.S. currency anymore.
The U.S. currency, the world currency?
The world currency.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, is Bitcoin the answer? Is gold the answer? Is owning a portion of a company like a stock, an equity, is that the answer? Like, I think the answer is having your hands in a little bit of everything, but...
And I wonder, I need to do some research about what happens during hyperinflation, but what happens to the value of homes and cars and computers, other property that has value that people want and need?
Does it stay really high, but the dollar is so low that you can't... Like buying a normal house now is like buying a $1 million property.
And then if that's true, would you just want all of your assets to be in...
real estate?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but somebody was sending us a message yesterday, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, look at all this land in like Idaho or Vegas, outside like in Nevada somewhere."
Yeah.
And They're like, why wouldn't I buy this land? It's only $10,000. And you're like, well, because you can't do anything with it, and then you got to pay taxes on it.
Yep.
Like, we own some land that we're doing nothing with, and the taxes are thousands and thousands of dollars every year, and it's just money going out, and it's not appreciating the same way a home would.
Yep.
I mean, maybe it could, but land isn't always the wisest investment either. But
got a little bit of good news here. Breaking news. The Prime Minister is in extremely good spirits.
That's good.
And he has been moved out of intensive care. Still in the hospital, but he's in the regular hospital ward, no longer in intensive care on oxygen.
That's very good.
Yeah. Have you heard that someone in our neighborhood has coronavirus?
From Katie. Is she the one spreading this rumor?
Yes.
Is it true?
I think I'm pretty sure it's been confirmed. Like this woman is in the hospital. Katie says today that.
Do we know her?
I do not know her. I don't think I've seen her before.
Okay.
But a lot of our friends know her. So that's a little freaky. I'm not that worried. I'm sure you're getting your face mask ready right now. But
it's right there.
Yeah. But the other thing that's more disturbing to me is there's a news article that just came out that said the Umakau police are now going to start coming into our gated community. We have our own security guards here. But they're going to come in here and start issuing people court orders or something if they catch you jogging. And I have taken the stance that I do not care if people want to go outside and walk their dogs or go for a walk. As long as you're not congregating, you're not hurting anyone, you're not putting anyone in danger.
So you see what I'm saying? The rule of law still applies during a pandemic. But the rule of law, I mean, our inalienable rights, the law of the land, I mean, it all still exists. And we don't want to set a precedent where every time experts declare a crisis, and it's scary, and a lot of people are going to die, that we just lose our ability to function as a government and the executive branch. I mean, I know you're the executive branch now, but where we don't have that whole of government real approach to safeguard the liberties of the American people.
Well, one of the things that I think the president has done very well here is to use the strength of a federal system where certain decisions should be made in Washington, perhaps, but also allowing each state to adapt to the situation that confronts it and make their own choices.
This bums me out. I feel like it bums me out from the perspective of, like, I want to go outside.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't go outside much, but I want to be able to go outside without being hassled by the police. But it also bums me out from, like, a freedom standpoint in general. Yeah. You know, I'm not one of these gun-toting guys who's like, come get me, you know. You're not taking my freedom.
I wish you would knock on my door.
Exactly. But at the same time, like, I do appreciate the ability to make choices for myself. And I agree I shouldn't be able to put other people in danger. But if I'm not, I should be able, I'm an adult. I should be able to do what I want with my life. And it's just one more step pushing me closer to thinking, like, do I want to be here in Puerto Rico anymore? Not forever, but I'm saying just
at
like
this moment.
During this quarantine, is this the place that I really want to be? I think a lot of my friends who are really scared, who are in the States, they would prefer to be here. They're like, I wish I had cops coming locking people up who are walking their dogs and everything. I'm not that afraid of this virus. Like, I'm not going to go that crazy. But I would rather have a little bit more freedom. It's like I want there to be a reasonable amount of safety versus freedom.
And yesterday's video, I put that crazy clip of LA. I think it was yesterday, where it's like 60 police officers, and they're all lined up, and none of them have the masks, but they're waving the batons, and it's multicultural. There's whites and black people in the police force, but it's just scary to see all those people congregating and not caring at all. So I see why that's bad. But then when I see all those police showing up, I'm like, man, this looks a little scary. Like, this is now becoming a police state sort of thing. There was a video that was going viral yesterday, I believe, here in Puerto Rico, and it's all in Spanish. And I don't know exactly what was going on, but it appeared that a girl and her friends were driving their car, but they had the wrong license plate number. They were an even day when it should have been an odd day. And it appeared that the cop was pulling her out and arresting her. And it just seems so insane that, like, the Puerto Rican police are going to this distance when I kind of feel like if you're in your car, and you're not congregating in public areas, like in your car, you should be fine, right? I almost feel like you should be able to get in your car and do like a little lap around the neighborhood, around the city, and then come right back to your house. And like that feels like that's not really that dangerous.
Yeah.
But they were pulling this girl out, and I think he had the mask on. But I'm just seeing all of these things, and I'm like, this looks like what a police state could be. And this looks like what could happen in big cities like New York and LA, Chicago, Atlanta, maybe even Charleston, and it starts to scare me in the same ways that you are getting a little scared too.
Well, just to be fair, I'm pretty sure that the Puerto Rican girl who got tasered or whatever.
That's what it was. She got tasered.
I think she was really resisting with the police.
There was something before the video started that probably happened.
Yeah.
Because I read some English comments and it said that she assaulted or did something to a police officer. But I have to believe in the environment that we're in right now.
And he was asking her to come out of the car, and then she said no. And then he opened the car, and he's pulling her, and she's resisting and pushing back. Like, you can't do that. I've never been one to be like, you got to stand up for yourself against these pigs. No. If somebody has a gun and they're in a position of authority.
But there was also, I don't know where this article is, but there was something posted that said that our governor was also going to prosecute and persecute people who were spreading fake information through the media about all of this. And it just made my ears perk up a little bit because I'm like, well, we just did that article about how horrible of a decision it was for the Puerto Rican government to buy all of these tests and how they got scammed and how bad it was. And I'm just thinking like, man, it's another one of those like freedom of speech things. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to have a video removed by YouTube, but it's another thing when your government is saying like, you can't say that because you are spreading rumors or you're making us look bad and we won't stand for that. And it's the same thing that when the Puerto Rican people rose up and kicked the governor out of office, like I was kind of saying, yeah, like good for them, good for us. Like people stood up for what they believed in and they mass demonstrated in large numbers. It was like 50, you went to it. It was like 50% of everyone on the island was there.
It was crazy.
That's crazy. And I feel like that's a good side of, democracy. That's a good side of freedom. But when I'm hearing that like you can't leave your house now to even, run up and down your street, you have to exercise on your property. And maybe now, like this whole weekend, we can't go to the grocery store. All businesses, including essential businesses, as far as I know, are shut down. You can't
Friday,
go
Saturday, and Sunday.
You can't go get food, groceries, pharmacy. Like you're not supposed to be on the road at all this weekend. And I'm like, this is a little scary in a place that has been hit by coronavirus the least. Like we have done really, really well with it, as far as we know.
Yeah.
Maybe the testing isn't being done, and we're just like every other state. But I don't know. These are concerns that I have now that I did not have a week ago.
Well, to talk about the food situation, Katie and I have this bet going on. Like, how long can we survive without going to the grocery store on just food that we have left around the house? And I have been playing tough guy, and I'm like, I can eat anything. I like all food.
Yeah.
So you're going to lose, Katie, because you're a picky eater. Thinking that she would have caved by now. And
she's got all the meals planned out. She's telling me everything that she's going to do for the next week.
I'm looking at how much food we have. It is not much food left. It's like peanut butter. Maybe we have a few eggs left, but they're not lasting through the weekend.
And we always share. Cheese. We kind of like share eggs. It's like we'll just all buy eggs.
So I'm starting to panic a little bit because today is the last day that we can
go
have
get
groceries until Monday.
And technically, if your car isn't the right license plate, you have to like borrow my car.
I can't even go.
I haven't even looked. Luckily, we have 3 cars, and I'm hoping we have.
I personally have 4 license plates, so I have to own a license plate that allows me to go out any day.
But if you don't, then maybe you've already missed your window.
Yeah. So I have to give it to Katie. She is beating me here psychologically with this bet, and I'm eating more and more junk food, but it's running out. My Nutter Butters are almost gone.
Yeah.
And when those are gone, what am I going to do for sustenance?
I wonder, have you been talking to many friends back in the States? Like, I feel like we're a couple weeks ahead. I mean, how many days have we been in quarantine? It's been over 3 weeks now, right?
I guess.
Are we into our 4th week? And they have not announced that the quarantine will be extended after Easter. That's the deadline. But we all suspect that they're going to do it like they did the first one, where hours before they're going to be like, oh, by the way, national emergency, we're now quarantined for another month. I totally, expect that.
Yeah.
But I wonder where people are in America, because I'm getting kind of tired of coronavirus. Like, I was super interested in it. It's almost like the election. I was super interested in the 2016 election. And then there got a point where I'm like, maybe even after Trump became president, I was like, man, I just don't care about politics anymore. I can't listen to this stuff all day. There's always some new big thing. I'm kind of getting like that with coronavirus. It's like maybe New York is starting to level out, but perhaps other towns are going to increase. They're saying the ring around New York is starting to spread, where the biggest numbers are not in New York City anymore. It's like outside the city. It's everyone that like left to get out of the city. And I'm thinking, well, the spring breakers from Florida, those numbers have to start maturing and cases are going to be coming up everywhere. But I'm just not that interested anymore. And I can't figure out the stock market. Everything was doom and gloom. I don't know. Like, I'm getting a little stir crazy where I just want to go vacation. I want to travel. I want to produce, like, I'm trying to do a photo shoot in here. Trying to get back to like real normal things. But I suspect all of my friends and family are now just starting to get to where they might know friends and family and people that are being affected by it. In some weird way, we are so isolated that, oh, we have a case here in our town. It's finally gotten here, but it feels like, maybe it's just never going to be that bad in Puerto Rico.
Have you thought about, I don't even know if you could get in, but going and living in Sweden for a while? Sweden's one of the few places in the world that's just kind of like open.
We were very close to going to Sweden for an event. And
how long ago was that? Just a few weeks ago, right?
It was supposed to be the beginning of April. No, wait, beginning of March. It would have been like March 3rd or 4th. And when did we get on quarantine? Like the 10th? So there's a chance like we would have been traveling abroad when all of this happened, and it would have been...
Which I'm sure the grass is always greener. Maybe if I was trapped in Sweden right now, I'd be going insane, and I'm like, I just want to get back home.
And you'd be spending money. You'd just be booking a hotel room every night.
Yeah, that's true, but I see the news channels of people walking through town squares and eating at restaurants and playing outside, and I'm like, oh, that's what I want. I just want to live a normal life.
How do you think the healthcare there works for travelers? Like, are you do you have the net underneath you?
I think you do.
So, I mean, maybe you'd want to be in Sweden if if everything went down.
Maybe so. I don't know. But I've thought about that a lot recently because we almost went to Sweden anyway. And then it's the only place in the world that seems normal right now. And I'm like, it seems a little better than being trapped in my house by police officers outside.
If money wasn't an issue, if you just had disposable cash, it's like I've thought, it would be amazing to be in New Zealand right now and just traveling to all these exotic beaches and like just staying in like a little hostel. I mean, I guess that's where it gets scary. So where are you going to stay where you're not around a bunch of people to where you feel safe, but then you also feel like you're not infecting other people? But many of these places that we've traveled with Elia around the world, they're so remote that would be the life. Your quarantine would be like driving around Iceland. How amazing would that be? But that's going to be super expensive, and you don't know. There's going to be an uncertainty of when am I going to get home, and then do I have the funds to actually pay for all this?
Yeah,
if I don't have a job
we
to
do
come back
have
to.
the funds to pay for it, but at a certain point it becomes irresponsible. It's like we're paying this incredibly high rent in Puerto Rico, and we're not even in the house, and then it was fun to be traveling around Iceland for a week, but now it's been 2 weeks, and I don't want to be here anymore.
Well, and many times we're producing content, and so it's easy to justify the trip. But if you just took a real vacation, like the couple that did the
Maldives,
where they're on their indefinite honeymoon, where they're stuck there.
Yeah, I'm sure it was fun for a while, and then
now
it becomes a nightmare.
Yeah, it's becoming horrifying. You're like, this was the biggest financial mistake of our lives. Like,
what's the Tiger King meme? I don't think I'll ever financially recover from this.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
People are putting that on like their debit cards and stuff now.
Speaking of that, I remember there was a scene in that documentary where he said some crazy number. It's like I'm spending $100,000. No, it was more than that. I'm spending $500,000 just feeding these tigers every year. I'm hearing now from friends that are in Alabama are talking about how expensive it is to feed their cattle. And like there's certain grains and stuff that are becoming more and more expensive. We're seeing that eggs are starting to get really expensive. We were just talking about like how much it affects the entire economy. When you have truck drivers that are being affected, when you have farmers who now can't get the fertilizer, when you have packaging plants that aren't able to package everything. Like once some of these intermediaries get cut off from the supply chain, it just really puts a damper on the whole entire process. And so the fear that a lot of people are talking about is worldwide famine. But here in the United States, I'm already hearing from people in Alabama that are saying like chicken farms and cattle farms are getting more and more expensive just to feed them. And I don't know if the price of meat's going up or it's just harder to sell or harder to produce it, but I think that's something to kind of keep your eyes on.
This article says the cost for eggs has tripled within the last month to an all-time high. That's pretty crazy. I mean, I'm trying to think of how much I used to spend on eggs. It's a little harder to get them down here in Puerto Rico, but I'd always buy the expensive eggs with like the little girl holding the chicken on the cover. And I thought those were like $7 a dozen, something like that. And could it possibly be $21 now to get a dozen eggs? That seems unlikely.
Well, here's a little article that was sent to me, and I'll share it with you so you can put it in the video. But this was just saying when the Great Depression, shoe prices went up. So the president, Lyndon B. Johnson, that's LBJ, I believe, slapped export controls to hide the increase in leather. Color television sets, which were new at the time, they became so high that they couldn't sell those. So Johnson then asked RCA to hold the prices down. Domestic lamb prices rose. Like all these things were happening. And then they said that finally it was when egg prices rose to the highest that they'd been in the summer of 1966, which I guess this is World War II now, maybe Vietnam War. The agriculture secretary said that they could not raise these anymore because he potentially wouldn't be voted back into office. So they started releasing, the Surgeon General started releasing hazards, warnings to people, talking about the cholesterol in eggs to try to get people to be scared to buy eggs. So I don't know, if you lived in 1966, maybe you remember this.
It seems strange. It just seems like if eggs get expensive, then people will buy fewer eggs. I don't understand
eggs
having
is such a staple, though. Like, I eat so many eggs. I eat 2 or 3 eggs every day.
But you need to lie about the level of cholesterol to get people? Why not just the price? When people are like, man, an egg's $3, I don't want to buy an egg.
It's like gas, man. When gas gets to $5 a gallon, people start freaking out, It's like, it's those things that cause people to have civil unrest. It's like the price of bread, the price of eggs and milk.
And color TV.
Well, and maybe iPhone's going to be the next one. If they're like, the iPhone has jumped up to $2,000 a phone, you're going to be like, we got to do something to make people feel like this isn't the end of the world. Especially when it's an election cycle, which it is right now.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of weird stuff that Trump could do to try to the idea right now is that he's got his hand in with the Fed. They've been saying that for the last couple years, that he's telling them to cut the rates after they've increased the rates. What are they going to be doing potentially just to get, if Trump wants to get reelected, he might be pulling some strings that are not in the interest of us down the road, just to keep the economy afloat so that people feel like, man, Trump led us through this and it wasn't as bad. Like, that's a very scary thing. And you can see here, presidents in the past have done certain things like that too. So I don't know. I don't seem to trust the government ever. I'm losing more and more faith in the government. In this book that I'm reading, the economic hitman, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, it's not making me feel good about what the United States does.
Did you tell me earlier today that someone asked Trump about pardoning the Tiger King guy?
I did.
So one of the biggest rating hits of the coronavirus, aside from these briefings, has been a show on Netflix called Tiger King.
Yeah.
And the man who's the star of this is a former zoo owner who's serving a 22-year prison sentence. He's asking you for a pardon, saying he was unfairly convicted. Your son yesterday jokingly said that he was going to advocate for it, and I was wondering if you've seen the show and if you have any thoughts on pardoning Joe Exotic.
Which son? It must be Don. I had a feeling it was Don. Is that what he said? I don't know. I know nothing about it. He has 22 years for what? What did he do?
He allegedly hired someone to murder an animal rights activist, but he said that he didn't do that, and he was.
Do you think he didn't do it? Are you on his side?
Well, I'm a reporter.
Are you recommending a pardon?
No, I'm not advocating anything.
As a reporter, you're not allowed to do that. You'd be criticized by these. Would you recommend a pardon?
I'm not weighing in on Tiger
I don't
King.
think you would. I don't think you would. Go ahead. You have a question? I'll take a look. Is that Joe Exotic? That's Joe Exotic.
I just can't believe somebody would ask that question. I mean, I appreciate it. I like the fact that they've taken a little light turn on things. But I don't know. The idea of Trump sitting down watching Tiger King while a world pandemic is going on, and then him coming to the conclusion that, like, I got to get that guy out of jail, that makes me happy.
Yeah, do you think on his briefing for the day, it's like number 7 is catch up on Tiger King? Let me know what's going on with Joe Exotic.
Exactly. Anything else? Should we wrap up here?
I feel like I'm losing things to talk about.
I am too. I mean, like you said, you're getting kind of tired of it. It's like I go on the news and it's the same headlines. It's like the numbers are bad in New York, but maybe they're stabilizing. These experts are saying that we might have to be in quarantine for the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
And we have no expectation of getting a vaccine within the next year and a half. And you're just like, all right. And then you go to Fox News, and they're always angry at CNN because CNN's doom and gloom, and Fox News is like.
Well, like I think yesterday's episode, a lot of the clips that you had captured for me to put in the video were all about Tucker saying the numbers aren't nearly as bad as what we were being sold. And yeah. I've been saying this for weeks. I was like, there's a very good chance we're going to come out of this and the numbers are not going to be that bad. I don't want to diminish this so that we can prepare and get through it. Like, I want us to take the proper precautions, and I don't want to make light of people actually dying. But even 3 weeks ago, I was like, I bet you the numbers will not be as bad as what they're predicting. And then this will be a pivot point for Trump, right? Well, that seems what Fox News is saying, but I kind of agree with them. It's like, yeah, they are making a big deal out of this, and now you have the governor of New York City or New York State saying, we're good. Like, we don't need those things. All these predictions where we're hitting all the PPE numbers and the ventilators, like that never seems to have happened. So that's a good thing. Like, we should be excited about that, but there's always this agenda and this political spin that's going to be wrapped around that. One thing I wanted to ask you about that I know a lot of people on YouTube have been asking us about, and I don't think either one of us really knows, but a lot of the camera manufacturers have been in a lot of trouble the last year financially. Like, quarterly reports aren't looking good. People are buying less, fewer and fewer cameras. More and more people are just shooting on the iPhone when it comes to consumer, cameras. And it just feels like, could Nikon go bankrupt? I don't know if you want to go down this hole, and I don't know that we know enough information to really speculate.
I don't know enough, and I also don't know what percentage of Nikon's
businesses,
consumer cameras. Yeah, they do other microscopes.
It's like Canon.
Stuff.
Canon.
I assume that Canon's cameras are a very small portion. Canon makes so much stuff. I assume. I could be very wrong, and so I don't know that I'm the right person to comment on this. I've done no research on it.
I know a lot of people are concerned about that. Obviously, that would be, shattering for the photography industry if somebody like that went bankrupt. But I do think that we're going to start seeing in the next month or two companies going bankrupt. You're going to see it a lot with the travel and leisure companies, restaurants and booking agencies, and we're thinking some of these airlines might be going bankrupt, especially the smaller ones. I mean, we had airlines going bankrupt before coronavirus.
Yeah.
There were some pretty big names that, weren't able to stay afloat then. So I think we have to mentally prepare ourselves to start seeing things that, we've relied on, locally or even globally. Now, maybe they won't be around soon, which is horrifying. But I don't know. The more I think about this, it seems so big. Like, this is much bigger than I think anyone thinks, but maybe
it's priced in, bro.
Maybe we're wrong.
Stock market's already hit the bottom a few weeks ago. We're going back up.
On a more positive note, tomorrow we're going to have a guest. We are going to sit down with Monty Isom, who is in New York City.
That should be interesting.
And he is a commercial photographer. We did a tutorial on the business of photography, which was the most eye-opening tutorial I've ever been a part of. Like, it's nice to know how people edit photos and like how each person tackles their own specialty. But knowing how the contracts and the money works behind all these big projects, I've found that to be the most valuable thing we've ever produced. And he is telling me that there's agencies out there that are working till 1 a.m. There are people making ad campaigns and producing more than ever right now. And he was just part of an ad campaign that I'm sure he'll talk about that just was released. He sent it to me today for Volkswagen, I believe. And as I watch the news, I'm seeing so many commercials coming up that are all about coronavirus, you know, and they're releasing these so quickly. So I think there is money to be made. I don't know if it's going to be a positive conversation. Like, he's obviously at ground zero, so I'm curious to know how he and his family have been holding up. But he's definitely getting work done. I mean, he's got little projects here, but it's a different kind of work than what he was doing. So maybe it's more licensing stuff that he's already done for new projects versus going out and actually photographing things. So it should be interesting to see his state of mind, how he's holding up, how he's finding work.
I can't believe he decided to stay in Manhattan through all this.
Because we knew a lot of photographers that just got out of there.
Yeah, we'll talk to him about that tomorrow. All right, guys, thank you for watching. We got the Patreon below. We're donating all the money during this time to a good cause in Puerto Rico. We've still got the sale going on at fstoppers.com/store, and our intro to photography tutorial in the store is 100% free. Check it out. We'll see you tomorrow.
I don't know what day of the week it is, yeah. Is it Monday? I don't know. Is it Tuesday? I don't know. Maybe Sunday? I don't know. Every day feels the same. Every day feels the same.
I think it's Thursday.
Shut your mouth! It all feels the same. It all feels the same. I don't know what to do, so I'll just eat some snacks, get real fat, and stay in my room.